closer to you than your jugular vein. It actually says your carotid artery. It's translated as jugular vein. That God is closer to you than your carotid artery. The idea that God is closer to us than our own source of consciousness, which is the flow of the blood to the brain. If that stopped, then consciousness stopped. So this nearness of God is also a nearness of our own death. The Prophet Muhammad said that death is closer to you than the strap on your sandal. That it's literally part of our being. And coming to terms with that reality, that we are finite creatures, is coming to terms with the most essential and important question that we are confronted with as human beings, which is, why are we here? And ultimately there are two choices. That this is random, that it's meaningless, or that no, there is purpose in existence. And this is a problematic question in the 20th century, moving on to the 21st century. For many people, this is problematic. And there are many very strong and valid reasons for the difficulty of this. And this is the choice that we make, of whether we accept a universe that has purpose and meaning. If we do, then death has meaning. Death is not meaningless. There is no arbitrariness in existence. There is no chance. Like Einstein said, God does not play dice with the universe. This is from the Quran, is an account of creation. It says, "O humankind, if you have doubt about the resurrection, that you will be brought forth, that you will literally be recreated, if you have doubt about the resurrection, consider that we created you out of dust." Then, in other words, the human being literally comes from the earth. It says in the Quran that we brought you forth from the earth, using words like vegetation. The human being comes, and we have all of the constituents that exist in earth also within our own bodies. The sodium, the potassium, the zinc, and the trace metals. Out of dust, then out of sperm, and then out of a leech-like clot. And the word in Arabic for the leech-like clot is alaq, which means a lump that clings, which is when there's insemination of the sperm with the ovum, when we get the zygote, it literally clings to the womb like a leech. It clings to the side of the womb that has been prepared by the woman through the cycle. Then out of a morsel of flesh, which is mudghah, which it literally means like a morsel. In other words, that at a certain point when the spinal cord begins to differentiate, if you look under a microscope at the fetus, it literally looks like a chewed piece of flesh. And Dr. Keith Moore, whose textbook is used in several universities in embryology, makes mention of the Quranic version, that it is actually an extremely exact description of what's taking place at a microscopic level in the womb. Partly formed and partly unformed, because we see as the fetus begins to differentiate, there are areas that are formed and areas that are unformed. In order that we may manifest our power to you, and R is similar to the royal we in English, and we cause whom we will to rest in the wombs for an appointed term, then do we bring you out as babes, then foster you that you may reach your age of full strength. And some of you are called to die before that. And some are sent back to the feeblest of old age, where you literally go back to the childlike state. And in our culture, literally wearing diapers, having no cognitive awareness, becoming like a child. So that they know nothing after having known much. And this is all to indicate the power of the Creator, that no matter how marvelous we become as intellectuals, as scientists, as people of thought, we will ultimately be reduced to dust. And this is perhaps the most humbling aspect of human existence that we can reflect on. the idea of accepting death and its importance. Some of the wonderful Muslim poets who were men and women of deep knowledge and reflection have described death. One Persian poet says, "Our death is our wedding with eternity." That death literally is a wedding with eternity. What is the secret? God is one. The sun divides itself, streaming through the different openings of the house, but when these openings are closed, multiplicity vanishes. And what he's saying there, he's using the sun as a metaphor to describe divine unity. And this goes back to that earlier frame about this, where are these waves emanating from? The waves are not the source in the same way that the photon is not the sun. The light particle or the light wave is not the sun, and yet it emanates from the sun. And just as the sun is a unified sphere, these parts that differentiate from the sun, when the door is closed, multiplicity vanishes. In other words, when the door is closed and the light of the sun is gone, we return back to that darkness, which is symbolic of unity. And what he's saying there is that when death comes, then we recognize the truth of God is one. And really, every tradition, and even the Hindu tradition itself, has an understanding of the divine unity. Every single tradition, whether you look at Buddhism, at Judaism, at Christianity, at Taoism, there is an understanding of the underlying unity, which is the substrata. And that's a bad word, but it's literally is the basis by which existence can come about, the multiplicity of existence. There's an interesting philosopher, Maylander, who's a German, who wrote a book in which he actually was the first one to use the idea of God as dead. And what he meant by that, prior to Nietzsche, what he meant by that was something very different from what it became to be used. He meant literally that as long as we exist in the world of multiplicity, God is dead to us. And God only becomes alive experientially when we recognize that the divine unity is truth and multiplicity is only a temporal experience. And so this is what he's talking about. That dying literally is a wedding with eternity. In another poem he says, his name is Jalaluddin Rumi, he says, everything you see has its roots in the unseen world. In the same way that you can see a tree over the earth, by knowledge and reflection we know that that tree ultimately has roots. What he's indicating here is that when we see phenomenal existence, if we're people of discernment, then we must recognize that there's an unseen source from it. And to say that it's the quantum world is still limiting us to a physical reality. The forms may change, yet the essence remains the same. Every wonderful sight will vanish. Every sweet word will fade. But do not be disheartened. All of the delights of the world that we experience, they'll all go. But do not be disheartened. The source they come from is eternal. Branching out, giving new life and new joy. Why do you weep? The source is within you. You can know this reality. And this whole world is springing up from it. The source is full and its waters are ever flowing. Do not grieve. Drink your fill. Do not think it will ever run dry. This is the endless ocean. From the moment you came into this world, a ladder was placed in front of you that you might transcend it, the world itself. From earth you became plant, from plant you became animal, afterwards you became a human being endowed with knowledge, intellect, and faith. Behold the body born of dust, how perfect it has become. Why should you fear its end? When were you ever made less by dying? When you pass beyond this human form, it's closer to you than your jugular vein. It actually says your carotid artery. It's translated as jugular vein. That God is